Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy. And this is where characters gather. First, little housekeeping. Dave, my husband, is home on vacation for the next 2 days. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, love of my life. And so, if there's a little background noise, he's currently playing the Diablo 4 open beta and enjoying himself. And I told him not to turn it off just because I was recording. So, what did I read this week? First up, The Lone Book I DNF'd. The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. I enjoyed the first book in this series, which was The Golden Compass. This book, however, something about the tone and the darkness and a 12-year-old murdering an adult and another, Lyra, the protagonist from the first book, feeling safe with said murderer child because he was a murderer didn't sit well with me. I may try it again, and I may not. It all depends. But for right now, that book is a definite DNF. So what did I read this week? Let's do the physical books first. I finished book 3 in the Darkest Rising sequence, Green Witch by Susan Cooper. This was also in fulfillment of my 2023 reading challenge as the shortest book on my TBR at a whopping 156 pages, I believe. Here we go, 158 pages. I was close. This is the third book, as I said. And this is the first book in which the children from book 1 and book 2 meet up and are together for the book. And in this book, the sole girl of these kids, there's 4 children in total, is the protagonist, even though she is a sideline protagonist. But without her, the story couldn't have concluded, so I'm counting her as protagonist and not the boys in the story. And the reason the children can vanquish the darkness in this book is because, forget her name. What's her name? Jane makes a very unselfish wish. And that unselfish wish for the Green Witch is why the kids are successful. And I loved that. This was probably my favorite book of the 3 out of the 5 I've read so far. I will finish the series. I don't know if it will be this year. I admit I'm a little burned out on middle grade right at the moment. That's okay. And the next book I read is the last middle grade book I've read so far this year. That is The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. This was a library book. It is the first book in a, I believe, 4 or 5 series. It is complete. The series is complete now. This is an utterly charming book, and it would make a great bedtime read to your kids, with your kids. It tells the story of Alex and Cooper, who are twins, who fall through their grandmother's storybook into the land of fairy tales. And they quickly learn that fairy tales, and they've known this growing up, don't have the happily ever after ending that we hear so often. They've heard the true fairy tales, which have a much darker ending than we typically tell our children today. And they are wanting to get back home to their mom, knowing she's panicked about them. And so they have to gather the components of the wishing spell. And it takes them all throughout the land. They meet Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, the evil queen, and just a cast of characters. It is incredibly fun. It's incredibly charming. This is a very good middle grade read. It teaches good lessons. It tells a fantastic story. It talks about the importance of family and sticking up for those you love. And it's got great sibling rivalry and great sibling love and joy and care. And it was just, I loved that read. Go pick it up. So my next two books are on Kindle. So it's coming in very handy. They were both from Kindle Unlimited. First up, The Route That Takes You Home by Melanie Langsholt. And I apologize if I butchered her last name. This, I think I said in my last video, is a long-running series. That is the other series by her. This series only has 2 books. The second was just recently released. And these are the Mailbox Mysteries. I loved this book. I love this book so much that I got up very early one morning last week, to finish it because I couldn't continue to sleep and not figure out how it ended. There is no murder in this mystery. This is a small, rural America mystery. The protagonist is a post woman who had some trauma when she moved from Chicago. She's recently divorced. She moves back to her hometown in Iowa. She transfers to the local post office. And one day she is delivering to a local farm. She discovers the local vet is having trouble pulling a calf out of a cow. She stops to help, and in the process, they realize that the farmer is missing. He is an older gentleman. He is in his 80s, and they call the sheriff's office, and it proceeds from there. This is a fantastic read, and it doesn't violate some of my greatest irritations about where cozies have gone recently. For starters, she doesn't suddenly forget about her day job to solve the mystery. She doesn't own her own business. She worked for an employer. She, obviously the US government, she is responsible for people and showing up every day and doing her job. Too many cozy mysteries lately just seem to think that the job is a great hook to get readers in, and as soon as something happens that requires an investigation, the business can just languish by itself. It just drives me nuts. This book celebrates small town America and rural America and paints beautiful, vivid pictures of the joy that is Iowa in the late summer. And the characters are all believable. This is a very well-written, immensely enjoyable, cozy mystery that it's just truly a mystery with characters you would meet at church and you would, see at the diner or remind you of your grandparents. They're real, honest people. I cannot wait to read the next one in the series. I cannot wait to read more of her back catalog, which is rather extensive. And I'm so thankful I signed up for Kindle Unlimited. Otherwise, I would have missed this author and these books. The next book I read was Without a Trace by Colleen Coble. I actually first picked up The Edge of Dusk, which I left downstairs. And I was reading the author's note at the beginning, and it talked about Without a Trace. And was so intrigued by that author's note that I went and found Without a Trace. It was on Kindle Unlimited. I immediately downloaded it. I read it one day. It was my favorite read this week, which is saying a lot because the last 2 books I talked about could have easily taken that spot. But the Kobo book won out. It is a romantic suspense. It is Christian romantic suspense, to be precise. It takes place in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It is a canine search and rescue. So we follow Bree and her dog Samson, who they are a very well-known active canine search and rescue team. They go throughout the country. They're called in to find 2 kids who are lost in the woods near her house. She finds the kids. She returns to the woods the next day because she is actively searching for the plane wreck which killed her husband and her 3-year-old son less than a year ago. And that loss, the girls are playing. That loss has radically altered her life. She doesn't understand why people believe in God. She doesn't understand who she is anymore. She has, and her friends in the book comment on this throughout. Girls. She has changed her personality since the death of her husband and child. She's become this submissive, won't stand up for herself individual, and they're telling her it is time to forgive yourself and move on. So in the process of searching for the remains of her husband and child, she stumbles across the body of the banker's wife in the woods. And the story leads from there. This is an incredibly well-written book. I want to read the rest of the Rock Harbor series, of which this is the first book. I want to read all of Colleen Coble's back catalog, future catalog. I loved this book. It was exactly what I wanted. It was a wonderful read post absorption in middle grade March. And it was perfect. So what am I going to read? So I've currently started my book club selection for April, which is Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. I'll put a picture right here. I'm, 50, 100 pages in. I'm 100 pages in, I think. It's okay. It's funny. There's a little too much swearing in it for me, to be honest. Every other word is, the F word. Okay, not every other word, but it's far more frequent than I use in a month. And then I have also started Edge of Dusk, which I will probably finish possibly this week. We'll see. And what am I going to read after that? I don't know. I'm in one of those whatever strikes me mood. I have a bunch of stuff on Kindle Unlimited I'd like to start. I need to work on my April pile of possibilities. So we'll see. What did you read last week? What are you looking forward to reading this week? I look forward to your comments down below. Please like and subscribe. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.